What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Tell Me More podcast presented by Major League Success. I have TJ Tripp with us. He's with Berkshire, Hathaway, HomeServices, Craig Tobin Real Estate. TJ,
yes.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day and coming on the Tell Me More podcast to share your story.
No, I love it. The older I get, I think it's maybe just something with getting older. I like to share my opinion more, and it's starting to be a good habit and a bad habit. So thank you very much. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, we were talking, before we jumped on, the whole Tell Me More podcast is just about, getting agents on here and eventually other real estate professionals to just show people that there's so many different ways to get into this business, and there's so many different ways to find success. And here, what we do is we start from the beginning. We start about, growing up and what was life like. Because what I found over interviewing a lot of agents up to this point is typically there's something either early on in their life or early on maybe in their career, not with real estate, but just, them getting into the workforce. Something typically ends up bleeding over into their real estate business, some way, some shape, some form. So, TJ, what was life like for you growing up?
Yeah, growing up was everyone thinks their upbringing was normal, right? So, I'm trying to not use those words of, oh, I grew up in a normal this and that, because it's not. Of course, from your life to my life, it's not. Nothing's normal, right? So, but no, grew up in Northeast Ohio, actually, in the little township of Litchfield, Ohio. So just up near Medina, or in Medina County, I should say. So yeah, grew up with farm fields around it. Grandparents, I still am of a generation where I remember grandma and grandpa's family farm, which is a quickly declining stat of people, which used to be just about everybody, right? Go back far enough, somebody farmed, do something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my upbringing of kind of having that. And what was kind of funny is, again, from my point of view, kind of a normal thing. So grew up in a Christian home. Our family went to church very religiously and even went to a Christian school. Actually even did a year of Bible college, but that's a story for another time. But that was kind of the childhood upbringing. But even though around everybody blue collar, my dad was actually one of the only ones that kind of had a blue collar job all the way up until about the time when I was born, and he was in sales, hotel sales specifically, or not hotel sales, excuse me, hotel supply sales.
Okay.
So you have all of those little soaps, the little to towels, to if you opened up our towel closet or linen closet, it pretty much looked like we just stole like every hotel's Holiday Inn, Intercontinental, all of them, had everything there. So that was kind of in short, that was growing up in Northeast Ohio. But biggest thing, probably kind of remember, like as far as impact, that was kind of family life. But up in Northeast Ohio, I was also kind of the last generation to really remember. I mean, now it's the Rust Belt, but I was kind of last when it wasn't quite rusty yet. So, you still had the steel mills. You had 5 Ford plants open when I was a kid, and saw every single one of those shut down, except for half of like the main Cleveland Ford plant, which my uncle still works at, and now it's in fully operational. But anyways, but that's kind of that. You think of as a kid, you're like, wow, blue collar area, and you saw even before, this wasn't 2008 stuff. This was 2000 stuff, or even a touch earlier. You saw people that were kind of that loss, and transition, and being able to work through that. So I guess I didn't mean to go so doom and gloom, but
no,
that was life.
I'm smiling because and only the people from Northeast Ohio get this. When you're asked, where are you from, everyone says Northeast Ohio, and that goes from Cleveland all the way over to Youngstown.
Oh
right? In the
yeah.
Youngstown, and I grew up south of Youngstown for the majority of my life, and it's always funny when people are like, "Oh, I'm from Northeast Ohio," and then it's followed by, this town called, or
Right.
what.
Oh yeah.
So in relation to Medina, how close? Like, which direction are you going? You're going east
9 miles to the what would that be? To the west of
to the
Medina.
west. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we were almost, yeah, I mean, on the edge, Lorain County and all the rest of,
Okay.
all that.
Okay.
So, but we were really close to that. So,
Yeah, it's just always so funny when my ears perk up, right? It's like Northeast Ohio. Which part are we going to be
yeah.
close? But
Oh,
so
same thing. Same thing with Cleveland. No one's really from Cleveland.
well,
We're very rarely. Yeah, I'm from the Cleveland area. Oh yeah,
yeah,
which part? Oh, really? You're like 30 minutes outside of Cleveland. You're not really from Cleveland. And I say
yeah.
it's. I know I'm guilty. Guilty as charged.
I Same. My high school years, I went to Madison, Ohio, which is east of Cleveland on Lake Erie, and it's the same
Uh,
thing, right? I went to high school up in the Cleveland area, but not really 35, 40 minutes away.
yep, exactly.
But so growing up, with the background, father in sales, kind of for your life, did you end up tagging along with him on any of those things? Was sales something that was just kind of, in your household, or were you like just completely not a salesperson like myself?
Yeah, define sales. Am I right? I mean, everybody's selling something,
Sure.
whether it's just, hey, do you like me? Or, or you're actually selling deep sea drilling equipment. I don't know.
Right.
And so you've got, so I did go from some things, or picked up, when my dad has like a massive collection of pens, like, all the samples of pens in the car or whatever, and that you pick up something, it's like, oh, they wouldn't buy this one because this is 25 cents a piece. You really can lead with this one, but then really this one's only a nickel a piece. So why would you sell them with this one? You can get them on, just like little things like
Yeah.
that were little lessons that maybe were, they weren't tricks or anything like
Sure.
that. It was just a progression of, of gaining trust with people, which is, hey, how's that different from now? Like the faster that you can show people in my line of work and in both of our line of work, the faster you can show people, hey, I'm not here to screw you over. I'm
Yeah.
here actually to be that fiduciary. The faster that someone understands that, because everyone has their guard up,
Yep.
and there's nothing wrong with that. They don't know me from Adam. Why would they automatically trust me? Here I'm coming in, and taking down notes about their house or whatever. So it's some of those same things that probably, really, I guess, until actually talking this through right now, maybe I didn't give my dad enough credit on that. But,
Yeah. It's
you
just,
know,
yeah, it's always interesting to me, right? It's like, I've had agents on here where their parents were in the business before, right? And I've had agents
yeah,
where, their family was in sales, and some that were completely, not salesy, right? And it's always fascinating to me because I don't have kids, but I can only imagine if I did have kids that I would probably be pumping them with like podcasts and all of these other different because that's what I enjoy doing, right? So, but yeah, it's always interesting. So TJ, lead me up to like
yeah.
college, high school, college, getting into the career field. What were some of those next couple steps in your life?
Yeah, so coming here to, well, I should say back up. So I didn't want to be a townie in Litchfield, Ohio, which, I have some absolutely great friends that not barely any of them stayed, really. It was
Sure.
either military, continue to work on the farm, because I did work on a couple of farms through high school and things like that. But, and so I just was like, I don't really, there's not really much opportunity. And obviously that was, at that time, like when in high school, because I graduated in '08, so kind of crazy time.
Yeah.
So there weren't a lot of job opportunities, and so it was either go away to college, or go off to the military, or stay and farm.
Yep.
So I didn't like any of my options, and so, but no, in that time, a lot of kind of influence people that were of great influence in my life were just like, hey, if you don't know what to do with your life, just go away to Bible college for a year. At least, it might stick your head on straight. At least you'll at least have some sort of understanding, a deeper understanding of how to read the Word of God. So that's obviously very important to me. So I said, sure, why not? And so I actually went to a very, very small Bible college down in Beckley, West Virginia, Appalachian Bible College. And they, and so did that thing. And so it's kind of like, yeah, I'm not really planning on going into vocational ministry. That's not my, that's not nothing wrong with that, obviously. But I'm just saying that wasn't really what the trajectory, and it was just kind of, that was all they really taught. And so anyway, so exited from there, came back from West Virginia, and so again, didn't want to be a townie. And so my brother had just moved back my brother's 12 years older than me, so he actually moved back to Ohio, but moved to Columbus area, Dublin. And so I said, hey, let me be your brother in the basement. He had 2 kids, so it's kind of funny, my niece and nephew. And so, hey, let me be your brother in the basement for a year. I'm just going to come down to Columbus and I'll figure it out. So anyways, long story short, without all the details, I had $1,000 in my pocket, and I drove my '93 red Honda Civic down here to Columbus, and I said, here I am, Columbus, Ohio, and I've been saying that ever since. But well, that's kind of, but initially didn't get into the business until sometime later. But in that meantime, met my wife. Actually, I started doing personal training, believe it or not.
Okay.
And doing some group classes and individual stuff. And then kind of same thing. It's like, and that was probably gave me a ton of experience for even being able to relate with people. Because you were selling personal training packages. You were getting to that trust level. I mean, that's a big thing, talking about weight, talking about physical goals with all ages, from somebody who was 80 who came to me to somebody who was, 18, talking through those things and having that element of trust. I'm not going to go blab their personal info. So that was kind of me. I was kind of like the barber, people told me all their stuff and things, and you just kind of were that listening ear. And so anyways, but I kind of knew that really wasn't going to be my thing when I'm 50. And, so kind of pivoted. If you really want to go my crazy, the little crazy story was that actually I was worked at, it was a higher end gym, and there was a wealthy individual, they'll go nameless, that it's not like everybody knows him, just, I don't want a lawsuit for defamation by accident. So there was a high net worth individual that said, TJ, don't work, I need some extra help. Just come work for me full time. You can be my personal trainer and, and manage my meals and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, a salary position, that sounds crazy. And so long story short, kind of got into the environment, had his own private jet and stuff. And he worked in politics. And so had a house in DC, and kind of flew back and forth to his house in DC, and that was kind of cool. And being able to actually rub elbows with congressmen and senators, and which is just insane, because I'm like 23 at the time, whatever.
Yeah.
Didn't even realize the environment I was actually in. Yeah. And I was like, I'm with him, whatever. And so that lasted for a very short time, because then this individual decided that, I'm trying not to go too detailed, decided he didn't want me anymore.
Sure.
And, and so somebody who was his caterer, provided a lot of his meals, friends with a person that worked at a title company. And he said,
okay.
So said to his friend, hey, I feel bad for what happened to this guy. He kind of got thrown out in the garbage. And, so do you guys need any help? And it was right after, when was that? 2012. So things were really starting to pick back up in the market, and so they just needed bodies. They just needed people to get in there. And so anyway, started working for a title company, and that was how I kind of started in the title game, then did title sales. And you work with Ryan Ruley, don't you?
Yep. He's my mentor and team lead.
Yes, I tried to get business from Ryan so many times, and he was very, very nice to me. He was honestly and I'm just saying that just because you have a relationship. He was always so nice. It was kind of one of those things where, yeah, TJ, I like you, but
Yeah.
can't really do it. Like, this is a title,
Yeah.
you can only go so far. No, I'm sorry to my title friends. You can only go so far. It really is a relationship business and things
Yeah.
like that. And so, and sat down with me several occasions, but just didn't work. So that was kind of the thing. But so then really what turned the corner. So I actually got invited. Chase Bank does this. They do a bigger event every year or whatever. So I got to know a couple of Chase bankers, and so they invited me out. And I can't remember who the speaker was. It doesn't matter. So the speaker basically said, "Hey, anybody," he had all these small business people, and they're just from dry cleaners to whatever. "Hey, anybody that wants to raise their hand, tell us about why your business matters. Raise your hand." And so I took an agent friend with me, client, whatever. And they were like, "TJ, just raise your hand, whatever." And I was just stiff. I could not raise my hand. I was like, my business, how it matters. Like, this doesn't matter to anybody. And so I was being a little harsh on myself, but
Sure.
I didn't have that belief to be able to say, hey, this is something that I need to be able to, rise up. So if I don't believe in it myself, if I can't even tell anybody, if I can't even tell one person, if I can't even explain to Ryan that why my business matters, what am I doing? Am I still there? Okay.
Yep.
I went off on my screen. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right.
So if I can do that, so it was probably 2 months later that I'd been our current broker owner that I still work with. They'd been kind of saying, "Hey, you should come over," and so it finally clicked. I listened. I was like, you know what? I need to make the jump. So that was kind of the leap of faith, because I wanted to. I just kind of felt fizzled out, didn't have that belief system, and jumped over to this side. And application to that, really working through some of that. I could say, "Hey, that rich guy, he fired me. He sucks." I can put that blame on him. And really, so if you're talking about pyramid, whatever, experiences, beliefs, and have it on that. And so I was like, my experiences, I interpreted some of those experiences wrong if I'm going introspective. And because I'm looking at, he didn't force me to take that job.
Yeah.
He didn't say, like, you better take this job or else. I took that job willingly. And I was underprepared for it, which, hey, all things work out, all things work together, got me to this point because it was a stepping stone. But, kind of looking at that was kind of the looking back, being able to use some of the positive experiences. Because now I look back at that, for me working for that wealthy individual. Now I'm thinking, instead of like, I can't believe you did that to me, and having that bitterness, if you will. Now I'm thinking, hey, I wasn't prepared for that. I'm not going to be unprepared before jumping into a major financial job, whatever situation. Take a little ownership of the mistakes, and don't put that all on him, because that's not going to get me anywhere.
Yep.
So it's being able to kind of use those experiences and have building blocks to form new beliefs. Well, reality beliefs.
Yeah, and obviously everything's hindsight 2020, right? But at the end of the day, if it wasn't for that moment, it wouldn't have led you to this moment, right?
Correct.
If it wasn't, and that's same thing. Like I failed. My story is I failed calculus in college. I was going for accounting at Ohio State, and made me switch to sports management at Ohio State, which I don't care what anyone says. To me, it's a joke of a degree at Ohio State, and didn't interview for any job that I used my degree for. Got into real estate 3 weeks after graduating, and now looking back at it, it's one of the best things that could ever have happened to me, because if it wasn't for me failing that class, I never would have switched degrees. And who knows if I would have been living the lifestyle and being happy and everything else that happened, right? And I'll tell you what, I would assume the personal training side of things taught you accountability, taught you how to relate to people,
Yeah.
and hold, the hard part is holding other people accountable too, right? And really walking them through that journey of, trusting the process,
Yeah. Oh,
and
no, for sure. You can look at applications of every step of the way. So from that
yeah,
of having that interaction there, and from and you kind of really pick up on people's lifestyle, because no one just accidentally gets the way that they are in any way, shape, or form by
right.
accident. Then just poof, oh my gosh, this is the state that I'm in, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically. There's a reason why this happens. So being able to kind of open that box up a little bit of being able to say, well, okay, not saying how did this happen,
Yeah,
obviously, but being able to say here's habits, and but being able to pull somebody up out of maybe maybe they don't know what to do next or whatever, and so being able to actually take that and then say, okay, here's the way forward according to your goals, or whatever it is, or what they're trying to accomplish. So
you know,
same thing in real estate.
and it's so crazy because I talk to agents all the time. I've been with Ryan since day one of my career. So going on well over 11 years now. And he's always taken me or encouraged me to go to conferences, to go to events, big events, small events, masterminds, whatever. And, I always tell people, you just never know who you're going to meet, what takeaways you're going to have,
Yeah.
what things that you're going to bring back and implement into your business that are going to completely change your business. And, I've been to one of those Chase events. The one I went to was 2 years ago, a year ago, with Gary Vee, when they flew Gary Vee out.
Oh,
I want to say
that's a big one.
was it last year or something? I forget. But, going to, that one thing, really put a different seed in your mind of, am I truly passionate about title? And I have this conversation with
It's
agents
hilarious,
all
the
the
question
time.
to ask altogether. But anyway,
It, but I ask this to questions all the time, right? Like, these questions to agents, like, is real estate truly what you enjoy doing? Because if you don't enjoy it, then
yeah.
it's going to be hard for you to find success in it, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Especially when you got to be that self drive, self motivation. No one's, holding your hand. You got to be accountable to yourself. So it's just crazy that, that one question at that one event, really, kind of changed things for you.
Yeah. I still have the pen too, because I couldn't write anything down. I was like, oh, didn't use this pen, so maybe I should use this in this line. So yeah.
So you make that decision, get started into the real estate side of things. Um, when you made the switch, did you have supporters, doubters? Did you have a passion for real estate at that time, or was it just, let me go over here and let me see if this is something I want to do?
Yeah, I'm a little weird because, again, I kind of got into the business a little bit different. I hesitated, didn't want to get into the business because I just got, I didn't really like real estate agents. My interaction with them, they were very cold. Why are you calling me? No,
Yeah,
get away. That was, and again, I try to be better than some of the ways that I was treated, but I usually have, there's that old man coming out of me, early old man of someone saying, asking me for business. I'm like, you know what? Let me ask you, how can you bring me about, at least give them
yeah,
something. So I'm not the jerk just hanging up on them, or whatever.
yeah.
So I went off on a tangent. I'm sorry. Early on, yes, a ton of support. That's really the biggest thing, is really knowing. And we're in a more rural area, so we're mostly in Madison County, west of
Yep.
Columbus. I lived in Hilliard for a while, so I know a ton of people there, Hilliard, Galloway, and that. But then out in this direction, again, a lot of families have lived here for generations, and so how do you get into the mix of that? And so you could get kind of mentally like, well, how am I going to fit into here? I don't know these people. And
Right.
really, I found that to be a huge benefit, because then, if it was a farming family in Madison County and I was selling other kids' houses, I'm not on the rumor mill. I don't know who your cousins are. I don't know. So it's like I was a more trusted, safe box of information because they knew that I didn't know the other people that could even have a potential to spread more rumors of what their business is going on. So that was
Sure.
something I thought was more of a deficit in the geographical area I was in. And it turned out to be actually one of my greatest assets of not knowing anybody. Isn't that crazy? So, but I mean, yeah, but that was the biggest thing was, and we did a lot of trainings early on, especially did the Buffini training. That was kind of something that unlocked for me. Did a lot of, and we went to conferences and did a lot of things, but yeah, really that was a huge formative time to be able to not just do the business, but how are you doing your business? Because there's a lot of
Sure.
people that have all sorts of different opinions on how to do this business. And if you buckle down and say if someone says, hey, the only way to do this business is make 100 calls a day. Well, if you did 100 calls a day, you're probably going to get a return on that. That may not be something that you're long lasting going to be doing, but if you can calculate, but being able to figure out what is this lifestyle really like, I found is, and so it was kind of funny. So my brother that I lived with for a year, he actually just got into the business. I guess it was about a month ago.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of funny. He goes and gets fingerprinted at BCI, and so it's like, Tripp, is that you're becoming a real estate? Do you know TJ Tripp? And it's like, yes, that's my brother. Send him to my mechanic because there's something specializes in Subarus. He has a Subaru. I was like, oh, talk to this guy, and then started talking to that guy. He's like, oh, TJ, yeah, he helped me find a house. And so it's just, and so that's really been a pattern of like, if you can have, I figured out really, if you can just have a short 15 seconds, if someone says, oh, you're in real estate, how's the market? And if you say just something general, good or bad or whatever,
Right.
you can turn those just quick little things of it's challenging or this is what we're dealing with. I've got these listings or whatever. And have something that's educated and be able to have that just a different thought. They're like, wait, he knows what he's talking about. It just takes a few seconds to where now they correlate your name with real estate. And now every time they bring it up, and so that was really the biggest unlocking moment was just if you're at the chiropractor. I just came back from a listing appointment and couldn't believe it. Such a beautiful house. Their kitchen was just amazing. I didn't say, hey, guess what? I'm a realtor and, whatever. It was just something that now they associate my name. And there's nothing, there's no trickery about it. It's just, you're just talking about life and people happen to be interested in real estate in their day-to-day life.
And when did you end up getting licensed? What year?
2016.
2016. Okay, so before it really started getting super crazy, and this is one of the messages that I've been telling a lot of agents recently is, phone skills, conversation skills are going to be what separates a lot of agents in the market that we're in and moving towards, in my opinion. To where just something like what you just said, that is a skill set. Practicing how to bring up real estate or answer that question is working on a skill set. And some people will be like, well, and they'll blow it off. But how you just articulated that and spelled it out is what will separate a lot of agents. Because one of the things that I learned just this year, I was at a ninja installation. I don't know if you ever done a ninja training. But it's kind of like Brian Buffini. Brian Buffini, build through your sphere. When someone asks you, how's the market, instead of you saying good, bad, terrible, whatever, you say, well, what market are you talking about?
Yeah.
Which market are you referring to?
You in the selling market, the buying market, the what are you? Asking that question, even if you just said why, anything.
Yeah.
It was just, not like.
But people think like something small like that. Yeah, people think something small like that is like, like they don't need to work on that. That is a skill set, right? At the end of the day, our job is to talk to and communicate with as many people as possible, day in, day out about real estate. New people, find new people to talk to about real estate. Follow up with people you've already spoken to about real estate, right?
Yeah.
That's our job. So, the fact that you just brought that up and broke that down. It's just, that's something I've been on like probably the last 3-4 weeks, is learning your conversation skills and how to have them, because that's going to be what is one of the separators, in my opinion, for a lot of agents moving forward.
Yeah, and honestly, you said do you even like this or having fun with it? I did forget one piece of the story, and I don't know how I forgot this. But I back when I was with one of the title companies I worked for, they sent us to a sales coach, and and it was kind of old school, super old school, and loved it. Because again, they used the terminology like "put me in your tickler file" and stuff. But again, it was just the old school relationships. Skip Murray was the guy's name, and he's since retired, and he's living it up, golfing 200 days out of the year in Scottsdale now. But he started talking to me. We do the role playing thing and stuff, and he stopped me. He's like, TJ, if you would just have fun with this, you could actually do something. I'm like, have fun with this. It was a light bulb, like, have fun with this. Ultimately, that didn't work for title, but again, people are just people, and you're getting to know them. And so, again, if you can't have fun with it, if this is really stressing you out, okay, there might be a different facet of the business that that might work for you. But if you're afraid of people and you don't have interest in their lives, or interest in the market, or interest in economics, at least something, I don't quite get how you can be in it for the long haul. Okay, I almost went negative there. Sorry.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I think a lot of people struggle. Like we all see the success and the social media influencers, and the money being thrown around and the fancy cars, and you can have all of that stuff. But if you don't fall in love with the process of what it takes to get there, it's you're never going to get there. And then the second part of it is that truly what's going to motivate you, right? For me, that stuff doesn't really motivate me. To me, it's a certain lifestyle, traveling experiences, all of those things. I think it's just being true and honest with, what do you really want to accomplish with this business? Because anything is possible. Anything is possible.
Yeah. Sounds cliche to say, but it really is true. You're 100% correct.
Yeah. And what you're going to put into it is what you're going to put out. And if you don't love the process or real estate, it's going to be hard. It's going to be super hard. I wanted to dive into your first couple years. 2016, got licensed. Did you have instant success? Can you kind of lead me up to current day of just kind of how business has been? How did you think about building it?
Yeah, we did a lot. That was right at that time period when everybody was trying to do like inside sales agents and buy your leads, and and just like going huge on a lot of that. So it was kind of the rode the wave on Boomtown, and so that whole thing. And so that was really kind of what I thought the business was going to be like, is hammering out those calls, doing it. And just again, I can't tell you how terrible that was and how much it really failed, but somehow squeaked out. I think it was 12 transactions my first year. So,
all right,
whatever.
Yeah.
So it's enough to live, which is so funny. In comparison to, like, there's a lot of promises and things like that in the title industry. And I'm just, even with just the 12 sales. And again, I wasn't talking about 12 sales like $300,000 houses, which were like mansions at that time in 2016. There was a lot. I mean, again, we were especially in that beginning, we had a portfolio of like these bank-owned properties. There was a lot of those like $70,000 properties, 125. And again, there's absolutely nothing wrong. I'd still do this now, obviously. But I'm just saying, you really, it was just a lot of that, hammering that stuff out. So being able to do it, but it was kind of funny looking back, because I like looked at what I made that year. I said, even with all this grinding and these relatively smaller properties than some of the other agents in the office were doing, I was like, I still made more money this year than I did working in title. How is that possible? So anyways, it was kind of one of those things. So after that, I'm like, okay, if this is all I'm doing now, so then the second year, then it was, I think it was close to, what was it, six, I think it was like somewhere between 6 and 7 million was like the second year coming in.
Oh
So it
yeah.
kind of jumped
Awesome.
in. And so that was kind of obviously that was great. And so then you're talking about like, wow, I've never made more money than this. Obviously it's not about that, but it
Right. Right.
does help,
Yeah.
because then, on the background of this, it was, we had second child. My wife wanted to stay home. So there was a lot of those, the proverbial barking dog stories. So I'd love to have some sort of, pound my chest and say, yeah, I did it myself and all this stuff. But, it was really just like, here's a family need. I have to make this work or else, I'm dead. That's how I think of it. I'm just dead.
Yeah.
Not that my wife was putting up pressure, but I'm just saying this is something that I really wanted for them. I wanted her to be able to
You found your why.
feel secure. So yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. So being able to do that, and then you kind of so that third year, here's where you kind of have that little early success, and then you look at the end of the year, and I call this the breathe out, because you look back and you're like, okay, here's my checkbook or whatever, and you're like, I did it. And that long little pause of breath can cost you a fortune. But because you have this anxiety comes off your shoulders, and I probably had the worst first half of the year ever. That next and I got distracted with a bunch of stuff because I wanted to get into modular home sales too. Was trying to team up with a group and being able to, because I saw that need in the market. Still, I see that need in the market. But anyways, got distracted with that. Wasn't going to work out. Couldn't make. And so all of that led me to being 6 months in. And I was like, oh my gosh, what have I done this year?
Yeah.
Next to nothing. I've only made $9,000 this year. How is that possible? So then it's a switch that flips, and then still by the end of that didn't do amazing, but still at the end of it was still able to squeak out, I think it was 5.5 million on there, but so and plenty to pay the bills or whatever for that time or whatever. So so it kind of has that flows like that. So it's been pretty steady ever since this past year. 2020, it seems like a lot of people just didn't want to stay in their own spot. So it's obviously a pretty good year for everybody, I think.
Yeah.
Because then markets changed, or desirability for different housing changed, because as it was really trending more towards smaller houses, as soon as COVID hit, nope, not going to be stuck in this little thing.
I need more outdoor space, please.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. And so you had the upgrades this past year. Actually, I haven't calculated, but this year's been pretty great. But,
and you just focused in the beginning on kind of, yes, we're doing leads and some like foreclosure type stuff, and then did you transition just into kind of more sphere as you built it, or?
Yeah, no, I was very short term into those leads and things like that.
Leads is a different game for some people.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, and it really has been as short as I can explain it. It's more of that sphere, the sphere, and and just again being able to kind of work that, and then again by year 3 start doing a little repeat business sometimes, and that was a big thing for this past year, because then at that marker of year 6 or whatever, now you're like, okay, now there's plenty of repeat business, that it's just cyclical how that happens. So that's kind of where that doubles up. If you're still in the business and you're doing it right.
No, that's awesome.
Keeping up those relationships.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think you learned a really valuable lesson on that year 3, right? And I think again, kind of going back to, what's the true desire of what are you looking to accomplish in real estate? In my opinion, from the agents that we brought into the business and the agents that I know, typically people get into this business for either more money, which is fine, more time, and more flexibility within their schedule, right? Typically, it's one of those 3 things.
Yeah.
The problem is,
I jokingly say, more flexible schedule equals flexible income, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's exactly right? Like you can have all 3, but you have to set up your business a certain way,
Yeah.
You're probably talking about building out your team or building out a lot of system support, whatever, and that's all doable. And that's a whole different other conversation of how to do it. But the people that get in it for making the most money possible, if they're the solo agent, typically they're not having a ton of free time, and they're probably not having a ton of flexibility within their
Right. Yeah.
schedule. Those that have a ton of freedom probably aren't making a ton of money, right? Because they
Yeah.
got the freedom and they have all the flexibility. And I think the flexibility piece is one that a lot of us, myself included, really struggled with. Was, if you get done for the day at noon and you hit your income producing activities, go enjoy the afternoon. Like, I told our, admin today, I was like, should get out today. There's only a couple days left of it being in the 70s. Like, this is, this
Yeah.
is why we got into the business, right? So,
Yeah.
um, but that third year, right? We can let our foot off the gas a little bit, but what are some of those distractions and things that are taking us away from that main gig? And I think a lot of agents struggle with that. I know I did it early on in my career, riding that roller coaster. We all know
Yeah.
what that is. 1 month, 4 deals, next month, zero. Month after
Yeah.
that, one, next month, three, next month, zero, right? And
Right.
and you're just up and down. So, TJ, I wanted to move into, I know we just got a little time left. Future. What are some of the things that you're looking to accomplish over the next year within the business?
If you would have asked me that 6 months ago, I would have probably had a different answer. But now, as we are, dare I say, bracing for some impact here, and so now it's really going to be a much different coaching. And I'm excited about it, honestly, because these are time periods when there are downturns. Just in case any of your viewers don't know, there is the prices are here, interest rates are here, and so one of those has to go up, for the market to continue. So I think we're going to have some huge value slicing in the short term. Obviously locally here we've got plenty of stuff coming with Intel and
Right.
Honda doing the EV battery thing, and other, there's so many manufacturing things that are going to be bringing a lot of people here. But so I think it's going to be, from the data that I see now, it's going to be a short dip for here locally. It might be a little longer for other areas in the country. But so as we're seeing this, dare I say, opportunity coming, it's going to hurt a lot of people, but at the same time, it's going to bring a lot of pricing down to where you're going to be able to have help people as well be able to maybe leverage some other assets to be able to purchase some other things and grow their portfolio. Or it's really not that, it's not that special. This is what people have done in others. In fact, I studied the local, he was a real estate mogul before it was cool, John W. Galbraith. That was how he started his fortune. He didn't have he didn't have family money that got him started on that. He was actually an agent, and then was able to, at a time period like this, it was in the 1929 crash, say, hey, buy up some of these properties because the value is going to go up, and then you'll make a fortune selling them off later. And that's what started it. Then development, and then he built a few skyscrapers in the United States and in China and stuff. Among other things, Triple Crown winning horses and all that stuff. But but those are, you take those little pieces and say, well, history may not repeat itself, but it sounds familiar. Just do the same things that people have done in others, instead of kind of clamming up, oh no, what am I going to do in the short term? Because you know what? As I'm riding this roller coaster down, it may be a little strange and a little uncomfortable. In fact, it may be a lot uncomfortable until that pricing actually starts hitting the bottom. For some of the investor clients that I have coming up with things like that, but being able to, but not carrying high debts and other things. I guess we're going into personal finance now, but those are some of those things that I'm excited about, because either I myself or people that are around me do have the chance to truly make a fortune. Not even joking about it. Truly make a fortune. And these are those time periods and those shakeups that you need to capitalize on, being able to have that forethought of what's really going on here.
Yep. I always say real estate doesn't stop; it always moves. As an agent, you just have to figure out a way. You might have to pivot a little bit. You may have to start with foreclosures. That's where we started. Dealing with those and then selling off of our portfolio, whatever it is. But it's not going to stop. It's just whether or not you want to adjust the way you do business to figure out what makes sense and what's going to work, right? What's
Oh, that's
something that
exactly it. Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry.
what's something that you're looking to accomplish in the next 5 years?
Next 5 years, I'd really like to add really to more of a personal portfolio of properties. That's kind of something that's a little bit different. So I don't ever plan on really quitting this, just because that's kind of what makes me tick. Even if I had whatever amount of
Yeah,
portfolio properties or whatever, just because you're still helping people. I am energized by conversations with people, and so that's not anything that's ever going to change. So in
yeah,
the next 5 years, it would be really nice to be able to bring a couple people underneath me, do some sort of team thing. I already talked about, my brother joining the business, and so kind of, so a couple others that are thinking about getting their license, and friends and things, but being able to really start that multiplication, and kind of bring some people along with. But there's that might change too, from the standpoint of just depends on what's really going on. It just depends on what happens really coming into this next year, and how bad the recession really looks like, because there's going to be
yeah,
all sorts of needs out there,
yeah.
from businesses that are going to be folding under potentially. I hope not for those people, but
Right,
but that's just kind of
right.
what happens. There's going to be shakeups. There's might be some sort of other types of assets to invest into that might not be real property. I mean,
Yeah,
as crazy as it sounds, some of the biggest things that you can historically get involved in are cattle, animals, farms, is a big thing that, hey, all the one percenters are buying up farms right now, farm ground in
yeah.
particular. So they must know something. Um, from Warren Buffett I mean, even here in Madison County, a lot of people don't realize this, but Bill Gates owns 6,500 acres here in Madison
Yeah,
County.
yeah,
So and he's owns an insane amount in other states and areas. But so really looking at the big picture of kind of stabilizing and diversifying on what it is that you're either helping other people buy or helping other people leverage, whether it's cash assets into other things, or again, me personally, I'd love to be in that spot. Me personally, be able to do a lot of that
yeah.
stuff, but that's kind of something I'm really recently looking ahead. But probably that driving force is, if you follow much of the World Economic Forum, the whole thing of that people are tongue in cheek joking about, but it's a real thing too. Is the in the future people will own nothing and be happy. So I'd really like to have people own something and be happy.
I know we have a couple minutes left, but I got two more questions for you.
Yeah.
Um, what's a legacy goal for you? What's a 100-year goal? Something that you want to accomplish when you're no longer here.
Oof. Now you're going to tap into the spiritual side. I don't know if you're ready for that.
I grew up in the church, so I'm ready.
All right, awesome. No, I mean a legacy. I mean, ultimately, you can have all sorts of things. You can have wealth. You can have some sort of financial legacy. But ultimately, as I look through the world through a biblical view, I'm looking at, well, okay, I could have all those things, but as Scripture says, but without love, and that's not some sort of like wedding,
Right.
chapter 13 of First Corinthians things, but truly being able to have that. So if I am able to instill those biblical principles into my daughters, and being able, as their mothers of their families in the future, and being able to have that legacy spill down, I'm continuing what I have. A lot of people aren't fortunate to have a multi-generational of Christianity in their family, or a biblical worldview in their family, but that was pretty much how it started. My grandmother went to a particular church that did not preach the gospel of Jesus Christ being the one that died for our sins, and so then essentially found out, it was just a hilarious thing to think, in the 1940s, someone found out about, like, wait a second, this is what the Bible says, and was so excited about it, told their family, and that's the downline of being able to have
Wow.
that. So third, fourth generation, of Christianity, all the way down to actually on my grandfather's side, actually were missionaries from England that actually came and planted
Wow.
planted tens. It was four brothers, and they all came and planted churches down out there. So I'm looking at a legacy that I'm a beneficiary of already. And who am I to not say this is the ultimate of being able to have that beneficiary? But when you're talking about assets and wealth and things, I know several people, not many, but several people that have been able to use these hard assets like real estate to be able to say, you know what, you want to go into full-time ministry, you want to be able to serve God with whatever you want to do. I've already bought these properties, they produce income, here you go.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about that. It's kind of that $1 million question of, hey, if someone gave you $1 million, what would you do the rest of your life?
Yeah.
Well, what if I could actually ask that question to my daughters? Sheesh. So it's a narrow time of being able to establish that legacy, as he's called it.
No, I love it. I love it. Last question. If you could give our audience one piece of advice, maybe that you wish you had in the beginning, or just in general that you think will help them, or that you wish that you had, what would that be?
Oh, one piece of advice that I wish I had. I would probably say know your history, which sounds absolutely ridiculous. But again, everything happens because something happened before. So being able to understand this is something that has been huge for me, and being able to say, well, this is how this town was established. This is how this. And so I've been able to get into more conversations and understand how different areas have come together, whether it's farm fields, whether it's cities. And just because I took a little bit of time to say, how did this get here? And it may seem like a waste of time, but it's kind of, and maybe that's me because I have fun with maybe a historical perspective on things. But probably one piece of advice is really knowing your craft, because again, things were built here for a reason. Why is it here? And then how can it continue in the future? Because if you're talking about real estate and location, and as they say, highest and best use, if you don't have that understanding of what the highest and best use of something, you may not understand the value and be able to talk through that same value with a client, whether it's commercial, whether it's residential, whatever, a farm, whatever. Being able to understand that is what's really going to set you apart from having that stronger knowledge base.
That's awesome, because you're the first that has ever said that type of answer. And as you were talking, it's one of those things that it's probably helped you, right? Because you're not from Madison County.
Yeah,
and
I'm not from here.
You didn't know anyone, but when it gets back to the basics of people do business with people that they know, like, and trust, that is one way for them to like you, and that is one way for them to trust you, right?
Yeah.
Of knowing their town, knowing their county, knowing their city, knowing, the people's beliefs and the way of life and all of those things. And I'm sure it probably helped that you came from that type of background. I don't know all of the areas that you cover, but but if you come from that background, then you get what you just said.
Yeah, exactly.
I came from a small town, so I understand that side of things, and I think it's helped you out, clearly.
I'd
Right?
say, yeah.
It's been a way for you to connect with people. It's been a way for you to connect with people. TJ, I know you have to run. I want to be respectful of your time. I appreciate you so much for coming on and sharing your story and telling us the journey. For those that want to connect with you, maybe it's a real estate agent that maybe just wants to connect to pick your brain, or if it's someone that is buying and selling real estate. Those that are listening in, those that are watching, TJ's phone number is down at the bottom of the screen. But those that are listening in, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, they can. I mean, obviously you got the number there, but there's not that many TJ Tripps out there, so it shouldn't be that hard to find on social. Of course, I'm obviously on the socials. So yeah, definitely reach out there, and I will give my email address, but the domain name with the Berkshire Hathaway is too dang long, so people wouldn't be able to get it anyway.
Well, make sure you reach out to TJ, whether it's on social media, Google him, you'll find him. But TJ, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you. If there's anything I can ever do for you, please let me know.
It's awesome. Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
All right, talk to you soon.